January 16th, 2024. The Lawrence Board of Zoning Appeals is called to order at this time. I need a motion and a second for the approval of the minutes from November 21st, 2023.
Hey, Board. I so move their approval.
I'll second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, nay. Minutes stand as written. If you've not done so, please sign in at the back of the room, and anyone wishing to speak tonight, please stand and raise your right hand. Make sure, okay. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Answer with I do. Come on.
We are streaming. I don't know why I'm having technical difficulties and can't get this up on the screen, but it's on our monitor here, so we are streaming, and it is being recorded, just so everybody knows.
Do we have any special requests tonight, continuance, withdrawals, or waivers?
Good evening, Madam Chair, members of the board. For the record, Russell Brown, an attorney with the law firm of Clark Quinn, business address 320 North Meridian Street, Suite 1100 in Indianapolis. As shown on your agenda, I present the petitioner for 24 LUSV 01, 5760 Wallingwood Drive. As communicated to staff last Friday, we are requesting a 1-month continuance of this petition with notice. We held a neighborhood meeting last Thursday. There were some additional facts presented to us during that meeting which need evaluation by the seller, by the proposed purchaser, and others. And so we're asking for a 1-month continuance with notice. I know I attempted to communicate to everyone who I had an email address for. I know there are still neighbors who are here, but that is our request, and we would request that that be with notice to your February 20th meeting.
It is an automatic continuance. The board does not need to vote or do any motions.
And you said with notice?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you. Now for old business, 23 LUSV 12, 6525 Lee Road, a variance of development standards of the City of Indianapolis Consolidated Zoning Subdivision Ordinance Section 743-306Y1 to allow a portable storage unit, a shipping container to remain permanently on the property.
Good evening. For the record again, Russell Brown, 320 North Meridian Street, Suite 1100 in Indianapolis. I do represent the VFW in this matter. As you'll remember, this matter was originally heard in your October meeting. During that time, some of the neighbors showed up in opposition or with concerns related to this request. I can tell you that in November, we began to have very substantive settlement discussions. And I believe today we finally have an agreement that resolves many of the issues that were before you. As you'll recall, this was initially a request for the location, the permanent establishment of a shipping container about 200 feet off of Lee Road. After discussions with the neighbors and their council, we have agreed to move that a little bit further to the east. I have a diagram that I can show and provide to you that shows where we've agreed to move it. We also, through that, have worked with council for 2 of the neighbors to come up with a list of commitments. So I'm happy to read those into the record, and then I'm happy to answer questions that you might have and then sit down, hopefully, to expedite your agenda tonight. We have 4 commitments. I have copies that I can submit to the record. There are small modifications to that. So these 4 commitments that I just handed to the Secretary do a couple of things. One is they provide for a tree preservation area on a portion of the property that has some prohibitions for a defined period of time for trees along the northern boundary. It also indicates that within 180 days, the petitioner would move the storage container to the location shown on the map that's there, and that that location would be at least 100 feet from the northern property boundary. There's an acknowledgement that all other applicable zoning ordinances still apply to the storage container so maintenance, keeping maintenance to it. And then there is a kind of a pause as it relates to activity on the northern portion of the property for a period of 1 year. Specifically, that relates to the ongoing development of a proposed Frisbee disc golf course. So there is an edit to the exhibit that is attached to the proposal before you that essentially creates an Area 1 and Area 2. We did it with a Sharpie tonight when we're standing out here, so I don't have a copy that I can share with the board, but I will get a full copy of it to the board. It also defines those areas 1 and 2. So I believe that we have an agreement with at least 2 of the neighbors. I don't know if there's others here in opposition or in interest to this property. So with that, I'd be happy to answer questions that the board has. But we do believe that this is an appropriate agreement, an appropriate settlement to allow the VFW to continue to utilize this in much the way that they've utilized it for at least approximately 15 years to continue to provide outdoor storage opportunities for their 20 acres there on Lee Road. So with that, I'm happy to answer questions of the board. Otherwise, we would incorporate our materials into the record, including our proposed findings of fact, and ask for your favorable vote this evening.
So Russ, the new location, the idea is the trees and forests screen this. It's going to be tucked right back into the woods.
The idea is to get a little bit further away from Lee Road, to get it as far as kind of possible in a constructible area, and to utilize those trees that exist, and that's why the tree preservation commitment was included as part of those negotiations.
Any other questions from the board?
Is the outside of the structure changing in any way?
We'll be painting it. I know there were discussions about whether you put some siding on it or whether you put, landscaping around it and some of those things. I think we chased down a lot of those things, and both from the petitioner's perspective as well as from the neighbor's perspective, moving it was more appealing than dressing it up a little bit. So I think that was why we have chosen to pursue a movement.
Okay. Yeah, because as I recall, that was a huge deal. And I also want to say thank you, because we asked that you guys go back and talk to each other, and you did. So thank you for doing what we asked.
I think I'm guessing that our clients are tired of us talking to each other, but we have talked to each other a lot, especially today, to make sure that this gets accomplished this evening. So.
You mentioned there's something that we don't have that be on here. Could you just walk it by us if you've got a picture of it?
I'll actually can circulate this so that you can see it.
Yeah, please.
And the purpose of that exhibit, there are some prohibitions on activity for a period of 1 year in Area 1 and in Area 2 that are different. And so that's why we have them. So that's part of our commitments.
Is that number, is that 2?
Yeah, so Area 1 is on the western portion of the property, and Area 2 is on the eastern portion.
Well, there's like a moratorium on putting in disc golf or whatever.
Correct.
Only in that portion.
Correct. There are other things in play that impact the continued ability to make improvements, but this was part of our discussions today.
Thank you.
Thank you, Russ. Any other question from the board?
So can I have that and give you, because I'm going to give you an executed copy tomorrow.
Can we get that in writing?
That's part of what you'll have.
Yes, sir.
Right. Being no other questions, then we'll move on to any remonstrators. Those are for or against the petition.
All right. Good evening. Andrea Townsend, attorney at Plus, Shadley, Richer, and Braun. And our specific clients are Nancy Chapman, who's power of attorney for the Chapmans who own the property on the far west of the northern boundary at the VFW's post, as well as Dan Lynch, who owns the property on the far east side. And then we've been in consultation with the neighbors of interest. But speaking specifically here on behalf of Dan Lynch and Nancy Chapman, so I can't speak to if anybody else has other opinions. But it has been a busy past few days in talking with Russell. We are in agreement, Dan Lynch and Nancy Chapman, with the commitments as revised just moments ago before the hearing. So we do want to make sure this board has that corrected version. Mainly with respect to paragraph 4, we altered the exhibit with a Sharpie to show what areas were being described in that last paragraph because it was a little hard to follow.
Yes. I have that.
Okay. And then we had notations within paragraph 4 to as shown as area. You got it.
Yes.
Renee's on top of it. So it's been a long process, and we continue to have concerns about other issues for the property, but being asked here tonight to speak solely about the shipping container and its location, that's what we're here to do. So I have no other further comments. Is there any questions?
So you're in support of this with the Area 1 and 2 line and?
We are withdrawing our opposition.
Oh, okay.
Only
For two of the neighbors, Dan Lynch and Nancy Chapman.
Okay, and just to clarify, these are the neighbors that border the property.
And there's 4 parcels across the northern side, and so Nancy Chapman owns the far west. Or sorry, her parents own the far west. She's power of attorney for her parents. Dan Lynch owns the far east. And I don't believe you have a graphic of all 4 parcels along the.
There is.
I think there is one in my
There's an
staff
aerial
report.
photo.
Then Ms. Say owns the parcel adjacent to Dan Lynch, and I forget who owns the parcel. Stokers own the parcel in between those two.
Is this where she's talking about?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah, these part, Chapman owns this one and Lynch owns this one.
okay, okay.
Do you need me to point out
Nope.
on yours? Okay.
Okay, any questions?
So those other 2 neighbors are here to speak tonight if you have questions for them.
Faith, JD, any of you have questions for her?
No, we're looking on the map.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else for or against the petition? Okay, with there not being any, we'll hear from the City of Lawrence.
So the City of Lawrence is in support of this petition with the new location and the commitments as provided by Russell Brown.
Okay,
So the new location makes sense, and it makes the neighbors happy, so we're happy.
Were any other oppositions filed in writing for this?
No.
Also, you have the correct version of the commitments.
Yes, ma'am,
Okay.
I do. Yes, it's got the handwritten notes on it and the new red circled area. So yes, I have them. And they'll have to be filed
Sure.
with the recorder's office, and they'll become part of the property. So, and before I give a approval letter.
okay, any questions? No more questions at this time? Petitioner, you have anything to add? Remonstrators? With there not being any, then the board is ready to vote on 23 LUSV-12, 6525 Lee Road, a variance of development standard of the City of Indianapolis, Consolidated Zoning Subdivision Ordinance Section 743-306, Y1 to allow a portable storage unit shipping container to remain permanently on the property with the amended commitments and map, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
With the site plan dated 1/16/24 and the 4 commitments provided with the revisions agreed to by Mr. Brown and Ms. Townsend.
Mr. Brown, the board has voted unanimously to grant the petition. Thank you.
Thank you.
Again, thank you for meeting with all the neighbors. Appreciate that. The board now will hear 23 LUSV 13, 6313 Lee Road, a variance of use and development standard of the City of Indianapolis Consolidated Zoning Subdivision Ordinance 743-3-06-GG.5 to allow a secondary dwelling unit in excess of 720 square feet.
Evening.
Good evening.
My name is Joel Shaw. I am the owner of the 6313 and brought my family with us. Some of it is a dual benefit because the children are homeschooled. So this is a little bit of a government class for them tonight. So we're pretty excited. We are in the process of developing that space for our primary residence. We are a family of 5, enjoy the outdoors, and we're very excited when the opportunity came up to move into Lawrence from the more near east side over in Irvington. We love the communities we're part of, and so the neat combination of being able to live with some trees around us while also being in a walkable distance to the Fort Bend area is really exciting for us. In an effort to plan long-term for my parents, we're asking for a variance of use in order to build a secondary residence for them to live in. Looking at the plot, which is 5 1/4 acres, we feel that there's plenty of space to spread those 2 out. Our desire is to have the 2 homes, driveway, and really maximize the rest of the space with the trees that exist, as well as garden space for some of the hobbies we have as a family.
Okay, so this would be a shared driveway once it gets back there, right?
That is correct, yes. 1 entrance and a shared driveway.
Does the board have any questions?
Actually, Lee Road on the east side.
Sorry?
It's a Lee Road address.
That's correct. Yeah, so it's on the corner. The hope would be to have the access off of 63rd just being a little bit less busy. It would be our thought.
It was part of a bigger parcel that was separated upon the original owner, owned 3 different parcels. This is one of 3 parcels that they owned. So they're all addressed off of Lee Road. But once he actually goes and applies for an improvement location permit, that address will change to the 63rd Street address.
Is that where the guy that always picked up trash lived?
Yes. Yes, he's had to have some extra help. I'm not sure if he's passed yet or not, but
Yeah.
he was needing some extra help, and they decided to sell the property. So it's this parcel, the parcel next to it, and then the one further to the north.
All right.
It's 63rd and Lee.
Yes, right on the
Isn't
corner.
that right by the VFW?
It's right down the street,
Down the
yes.
street, right?
Yes.
Oh, yeah, down the street. It's
Across from the school.
So right on the
Neighbors were
corner.
It's across from the school.
I guess I'm glad they weren't here for us, but yeah. Figured it out a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what I was thinking. They're all Lined up, okay. I don't see his responses. Your responses to the,
They're on the back. It, I don't know why it printed that way. I wasn't gonna kill another tree to fix it. But his,
So you're not taking all the trees down?
No, and even that, the notice that we sent out,
it's in my staff.
it's
report.
basically
Is that what you're asking?
enough, we have
There you go.
obviously clearing the trees for the homes themselves. And then but in front of that for garden space, but not to the road. So the hope would be clear what we need just for light in the homes in the middle, and then the majority of the parameter would remain untouched.
So the trees pretty much are going to
Stay.
kind of be a cover
Yeah,
the house, so you can't see the houses.
yep.
Lost straight train of thought there. Okay.
The house that's there now is going to be torn down, or?
So that's not on our parcel, that's next to us.
okay. I guess it seems kind of vague. So we're just approving anything to go in, or?
So what we're asking, Marion County zoning code allows for two primary structures.
Right.
The second structure can't be over 760
Right, I saw that.
square feet. So that's what they're asking for. They're asking for a variance for the secondary dwelling to be over 760 square feet.
Okay.
I think that you estimated 3,500 for both houses? Is
Yeah.
that what it showed?
Is it 35 combined or 35?
No, it would be.
Each.
Each. So they're, at this point, they're looking at a 2 or 3 bedroom ranch that they would put on the property. They don't have finalized plans on any of that, but yeah, the intent would be very normal sized dwellings.
Okay, and this is it, correct?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm looking at blueprint. I don't know why this was out of order to me, but I just saw in the application, it just said
That's,
house.
It's
This
5
is-
acres, right?
yes.
Total of 5.
And this is just conceptual. It's
Okay.
not saying this is exactly where these houses are going to be placed. They didn't want to spend the money to have professional drawings done prior to getting approval.
That makes
So they're just asking, can they build a secondary primary dwelling? And just so y'all know, zoning, I was going to do this during my part, but zoning code also requires that the owner of the property live in one of the residences. So they wouldn't be able to build these two houses and then rent both of them out. They have to reside in one, and the other has to be a family member, according to the zoning code.
Okay, so so the code says,
The code specifically
The
says,
variance is just for the size,
the variance is for the size, yes, ma'am. I'm sorry if that wasn't clear.
so what,
but it's not going to be like a skyscraper or something.
No. And you
Really,
can, you
just-
can make a commitment, ask for a commitment that it won't be any larger than whatever square footage you decide.
Well, he's
No taller than 2 stories or whatever you want to do. But the variance of development standards and use is literally just for that secondary dwelling to be bigger than 760 square feet.
Okay.
so now what happens if the property is sold?
The new owner would have to occupy the residence and a family member occupy the second residence.
But, so they could not sell that property, like they sell their house and sell mom's house?
And that they would have to come back and subdivide it into 2 separate plats.
So it wouldn't run with the land, it would run with the owner.
It would run with the land and the owner.
It has, yeah.
Whoever owns the property would have to reside in, they cannot use it as a rental property because it has 2 primary dwellings on it. It would have to be, if he sold it to me, I would have to live in one of the 2 houses, and then I could let another family member live in the other house. But I could not use it as a rental income property.
And we don't have to put these in, those
No,
into
that is already
commitments because
outlined
it's
in zoning.
already in the zoning?
It is.
Okay.
We're just ruling on the size.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Maximum?
You want to put, can we put a maximum?
Yes, absolutely you can. You can say, a maximum of 3,000 or 3,500, or the drawing that he has on here with the dimensions that he has is a 3,500 square foot home.
Is that the maximum you'd ask
I
for?
would not anticipate it being any bigger than that.
Okay, then let's put that as the maximum. That way,
Why?
I always feel some kind of way about these open-ended decisions.
Yeah, but I don't think, well,
and, okay, so that could be-
And, yeah, I don't share your concern, but that's all.
So we can say 3,500 square feet on the ground floor, and they could do a basement and a second story if they wanted. But anything over that, they would have to come back to the board and get permission to exceed that, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
So the maximum is 2 stories anyway for a residential house. So they wouldn't be able to, without coming before the board again and saying, hey, we decided we want a 5,000 square foot house with 3 stories. They'd have to come ask you.
Sure. No, my only concern is I don't like doing open-ended rulings.
Understood?
That's all.
Would it be possible to say like 4,000 just because they don't have those plans finalized? I know that would be well over what they're, but that gives a little buffer to it.
Yeah, I think the concern is whatever that house was with all the dolphins and,
The what?
Dolphin Mansion.
yeah,
I know that house, the Hostetler house. Yes.
right.
Okay.
I think
So
that was-
what,
No, I'm not implying anything.
Yeah, no, not worried about it at all.
so as a board, what, do we want to impose a commitment? Y'all need to make that.
Right, does
Let's
it,
hear the rest of.
yeah, let's,
Hear if
Okay.
there's demonstrators.
Okay.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
thank you. Anybody here, any remonstrator for or against the petition?
Yeah?
You got it close.
Did you sign in? Okay, come on up.
My name is Robert Wells. I live in the neighborhood that adjoins their property, and all I'm wanting to see, is there someplace I can get a better copy of the dimensions? Because the photostatic copy that was provided, you can't read the,
Application out of order too.
that's all I would.
Okay, perfect.
And they're leaving the trees up, so there is going to be border there.
Yeah, we're not concerned about that. I just couldn't read on the thing.
Okay. Anybody else for or against the petition? Being none, we'll hear from the city of Lawrence.
They got more.
Oh, that's okay. I kept looking her. I saw you there. I wasn't sure if you were going to get up or not. You were kind of,
I was just waiting to see. I live also in the same neighborhood, so our house would be the house that is going to be directly behind the woods. So also, I just have questions about maintaining the integrity of the investment that we have, which I know that's, it's their property and it's really cool and I'm excited for them to have it and have their dream. But we want to maintain.
Before you go too far, honey, I need your name and your address.
Sorry, Erica Hilgefort, and I'm 6384 Harrison Ridge Boulevard.
Thank you.
Yeah. And so we, are just curious too about the distance that the home will be from our backyard, and a little bit about drainage.
Okay, so to drainage, the plans will have to go through the Department of Public Works. We will require that they provide drainage. That's part of any new home. That's a requirement. Did you want to see the map?
Yeah, that'd be great.
Okay.
Can't see the setback.
77 feet and 20 feet.
Yeah.
How far?
Well, the setback,
And they got trees.
depends what you're looking at. This is, for her purposes, a lot. It's 120 feet. She is, she's over 77 from this guy.
The last question I would have, sorry.
We just got to keep a record of it.
Sure. Would be that the woods is very wet. As somebody who's lived behind it for a long time, I would hate for, to get started on a project and for it to be torn up, just to find out that perhaps it's a little bit too wet. And so that's the only, and I'm not an expert on that, but it is a very wet property.
Okay.
All of that, when we get actual plans for development, will be looked at by a professional engineer, and they'll have to provide engineered drawings, and then we have an engineer check those drawings to make sure everything checks and balances, and that they're not causing a drainage problem for any neighbors. That is something DPW does.
Thank you.
Wait. Don't leave yet. So, no, I mean, the effect that it has on a neighboring property is certainly a factor that we consider. And so it wasn't clear if you have a concern about how this is going to affect your property.
I do, because I think that that's our backyard. So, I mean, it looks directly into the woods. So, maintaining some privacy, I think, is part of the value of our home. And so I think that the more distance we have between our homes, probably the better we'll be able to maintain the value of all of our homes, actually, not just mine. So I have we have neighbors on other sides too. And so I would imagine that, that a young family probably doesn't want to look in our backyards any more than we want to look in theirs. So yeah, I would have some concerns about maintaining the value of our neighborhood and of our homes on that row.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, they're talking about 77 feet from the north line and 128 feet from the sideline. Do you have any thoughts? Is that adequate, do you think, setbacks?
I think if it were me building a really beautiful home on this neat property, I would honestly want to come in my backyard and look and see how close that actually is. Because sometimes those distances might seem like you're going to have privacy, and then maybe you don't, or maybe it is, but I would want to see it from both sides. It's really hard for me to try to visualize exactly where that's going to put it from the map. And so I'm not totally sure.
I understand. I think I'd have the same problem.
Yeah.
Where is your property on the map? Are you directly next to it? Are you in the subdivision?
We are in the woods, so if you're on Lee Road, we are
One next door.
backside of the woods, actually. It's our property.
I mean, it looks like they're keeping a lot of the trees and everything.
Which I think will help it, that will help it.
Oh, yeah.
And looking at the map, it's 120 feet. I mean, that's more than a football field. That's quite a distance, especially if you've got a tree line in there.
Yeah.
So, and this is just a conceptual plan. This is not the final plan that, I'm going to issue building permits tomorrow.
Any other questions?
Because that's going to be.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else?
She's right here.
I did not sign in, so I'm happy to do that. I was wrangling it.
Okay, then I need to swear you in.
Okay.
If you've not, okay. Do you swear from the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Answer with I do.
I do.
Thank you.
All right, my name is Nathan Elliott.
That's VFW.
So my family has purchased the lot just to the north, 6473. And so I just wanted to do a quick pro for this family. We're good friends with the Shaws and would just speak to how wonderful of a gift really they will be to the overall community. And even, I think it's probably good that there's neighbors here talking about it because they're probably taking notes and excited to meet them. They are going to do anything that they can to make this right. They're not going to try and do anything to make things harder on any of their neighbors or anyone in the community. So I would just speak a very good pro for them. And my family is also really excited to come into Lawrence, and I know that they are, and to have them will be a good asset to the community.
So you're purchasing property next to them?
Yes, we have purchased it, correct.
You have purchased this, okay. Any questions?
Thank you.
Thanks. Okay, one more person. Were you sworn in tonight? Okay. Okay, let me. Do you swear from the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay. My name's Mary Ann Wells, and although the property that we're here to discuss is not bordering our property, I just want to double down on what the lady prior said. It is a concern how it's going to affect property values. And I think Nathan just stepped up, and I think his property may be behind ours. I don't know what it's going to be. But when we purchased those lots, the beauty of those lots was that there was an open space behind there. So, you know, it is a concern. There are property values at stake of those that are already existing. I'm not opposed to having someone back there, but 120 feet is 40 yards. It doesn't even make the half football field. 120 feet is 40 yards and not 100 yards. So it's closer than what you think, and it may be far enough that it's not an issue. But I think I should speak up on this one because this one's going to set a precedence for what comes next. So
Okay.
that's all I had to say.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Board have any questions for? Okay. No questions, then we'll hear from the City of Lawrence.
We've reviewed the proposal and checked the zoning code, and the only thing zoning code, it does allow the secondary dwelling. It just allows a secondary dwelling of 760 feet. The primary residence and where that sits on the property is also dictated by setbacks. With a DA dwelling, they could go up to, I think it's 40 feet off of the property line. They're proposing 120 plus. They're meeting all of the standards and the requirements. They're just asking for a bigger secondary dwelling so that their in-laws can live on the property too. It seems like a reasonable request. Obviously, the DPW will look at the drainage, the setbacks, the overall development of the property. I know that in working with them, since they filed the petition, it was actually back in August, I believe, getting it all ready and everything. Anything that I've asked or questioned, they've been right on answering and providing any details and information that we've asked for. I don't think it's that big of an exception from the rules to allow. I do like that you want to put a commitment on the maximum size of the secondary dwelling. I think that's a smart decision to make, and we would be in support of this petition with that commitment.
Just from the city's perspective, this includes setbacks that are listed. I mean, that's part of the.
Well, they're going to have to meet the setbacks. That's not part of their variance for today. They are going to have to meet the setbacks.
Right, but
So,
the setbacks aren't as much as they have on this.
no, they're not.
But we
They're
could
much less.
require that they do not,
minimum setback.
they at least keep it this far back.
Yes, you can say that you can make a commitment that the secondary dwelling not exceed 4,000 square feet, which was what Mr. Shaw asked for.
And be within,
And then you can also say with the minimum setbacks as depicted in the site plan provided. And then when they're drawing up the plans with their architects and their engineers, that's a commitment they're going to have to meet.
That seems fair.
So but that's up to you as a board. We're in support of it with whatever commitments you guys think are best.
I like a certain cap, and I like the certain setback.
Okay?
That's what we're all contemplating today.
So between the four of you, you tell us what you want those commitments to be. We'll see if the Shaws are in agreement with that, and then go from there.
yeah, I think we're saying no more than 4,000 square feet.
Okay?
And whatever the site plan says, 77
77
and
dimensions.
100 and,
77.
when we get
So
smaller.
we'll just say the site plan as outlined and the staff is
Yeah,
on file.
Yes.
Okay.
yeah, which is 77.
May I ask
Yes.
a question? Would it be possible to restrict setbacks on the eastern, so the portion that's of
Your house.
concern is the main house, that is our house, is the one that's come up in discussion as far as setbacks. And so I guess my question is, would we be able to restrict the setbacks on that portion of it?
So from the east property
From the
line.
east property, just in order to have a little bit of flexibility as far as where the houses ultimately end up. I don't have a desire to have them close to any of the borders. Like I said, I don't think it's going to deviate much from what this is. It's more just, I guess, a little bit of the, because I don't have it in writing yet, what that's going to be, I'd like to have a little bit of flexibility. I have no problem saying, we don't,
Minimum of
being within
120 feet.
120 of the east, that's, there's no problem with that.
And that's where the houses are, right?
Yes.
Correct.
Yes, sir.
How big's your house going to be? Do you know yet?
35 to 4,000.
Oh, that house doesn't exist yet.
No, yeah, sorry.
Neither what?
Main house, the main house.
Main house, that's what I'm asking, is how big's the main house going to be?
Of 4,000 or somewhere in that range.
Okay.
It's 5 bedrooms, 2-story. That's what we have drawn up, but that hasn't been finalized either. So since, I guess, what I'm, just to clarify, and if I belabor, I apologize, but since the variance is related to the size of the second one, I guess I would like that the variance that we're talking about be related to that, or the setbacks be related to that. If we're talking about variance of use and that also includes the main house being, I guess, can you clarify that?
Oh, and I was just asking how big the 4,000 for the secondary
The
dwelling.
main house would not have a square footage.
No, we don't, no.
But would that have setback restrictions?
They can impose that as part of the commitment for
Part
the
of the
development
variance
of
commitment
the,
of the second?
yes,
Okay.
for the development of the property. So you were wanting a minimum of 120 feet from the east property line. Is that the way I understand?
Yeah, but I guess we're asking it on the primary property, not the secondary.
It can still be a commitment that you
Yeah,
make
no,
for
I
the
know.
variance to be approved. That the primary resident, that there not be a residence built more than 120 feet closest to that property line,
Yeah.
the way it's outlined in the drawing. Because the neighborhood's here. And he's got 120 feet, 1 inch.
Right.
And what's the present setback? It's only
40,
40. So he's setting it back.
triple it.
Yeah.
He's tripled what the requirement is.
Why don't we just do 75 all around?
He's got it in there, he doesn't mind.
The setback doesn't bother me as much.
I don't think we need to put it closer to the neighborhood. It should stay at least 120 away.
Yeah.
That's fine.
Okay.
Yeah, if he's fine with it.
Yeah, so, okay, so we'll say that.
At least 120 feet from the east property line before there's a structure.
Sure. And so here's, I guess my only question is, because we haven't had an engineer out there, if there is consideration to like water or something like that, I don't see that we would push it any further east, but we would have to come back for a variance of use of the secondary secondary residence to move it to 100 feet. Is that my understanding that?
So right now, they're saying that you could not build any home within 120 feet of the east property line.
Okay.
It's not dictating anything else on the rest of the property.
Sure. Okay.
So mom and dad, your house could go, as long as you're not closer than 120 feet to the neighborhood behind you,
Okay.
to the east.
You have to be sworn in. It's my
Go
wife,
ahead.
Kristen.
It's okay.
Do you swear from the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Okay.
Just thinking through, sorry, I'm a CPA, so like I'm all mathematics right here in my head.
Tell them who you are.
Oh, I'm Kristen Shaw. I'm wife of Joel Shaw. So,
Owner
if
of property.
you said 40 is the standard, is that right?
Yes.
I'm just thinking, for reasonableness sake, instead of having to come back, even if we said 100, like that gives a little leeway of if something comes up as we go in, it seems like that would over double, correct, the zoning law.
It's up to you guys.
That's just, I think I'm just afraid, because I know how things work, we get out there and they're like, well, it's gonna have to be 117. It's like, oh my gosh, we gotta go back, because that's 3 feet, we've committed, obviously. Anyway, that's just how I'm thinking through it. We know this is where we want the house, but if we get out there and the people who are digging in the basement are like, we've gotta go over 8 feet. That's just, you say no, and we'll come back for it. That was.
I mean, she's got a point. I mean, there could be issues.
It doesn't bother me.
If you don't want a commitment on how far it needs to be, you don't have to put one in there.
I like the 100 feet. I think.
100 feet, okay.
If you're,
Yeah, I mean, our whole,
Our
like
intent
they said,
is-
we wanted to, when we bought it, even though it's our property, our goal immediately was we would never want to, we only want to raise everybody's property value. The last thing we'd want to do is build close to anybody. I just want to be reasonable with what we might find when we go out there. So I was thinking more than double would be, trying to be overly gracious to our neighbors, hopefully.
and you want to set back also for the same reason.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, Renee, you want to read the commitments and see if this is what?
We need to go
To-
through the rest of remonstrators and all that, and
Okay.
then we'll recommit this.
Thank you.
Since petitioner's been up again, remonstrators, is there any remonstrators that would like to add anything to what has already been said?
Robert, Erica, Nathan, or Mary Ann, any of you have anything else to add? Okay. I'm sorry, did I hear a I do?
Yeah.
Okay, you have to come back up.
Just to clarify what we just did, we took it from 120 feet down to 100 feet off of
The east property line.
the property line.
Yes.
And that's to the front corner of the house.
It's
not-
just it's just,
Yeah, it's not the
building-
back of the house. I mean, what's really closest to the property line is that farthest corner of the house, so that's even less, unless I've got my north, south, east, wests mixed up.
No, I think what happened is that they're only required to have 40, and we discussed implementing 120 and then settled on 100.
But the diagram shows 120,
yes.
presented as 120 was what was initially,
Yeah, but this house doesn't exist yet.
right, so then you've just given them 100 feet, which is closer to the property line versus our concerns of being too close to us.
Right, we're extending it to 100 rather than 40.
They could go back as far as 40 feet,
Yeah, what
but we're saying, no, we want 100 feet.
Okay, so property values for Harrison Ridge subdivision. Tough luck.
No, that's why
all
we're
what
giving
they're
you
saying.
100 feet.
Sorry.
That's the purpose of the 100 feet, is to take that into
It
consideration.
was 120.
No.
Well, it
No.
doesn't exist yet.
Oh, okay.
It doesn't
See, I
exist
know
yet.
I'm not
law is
understanding.
40.
Yeah.
So
Not understanding.
They've not met with the architect yet, and so
Okay.
what they said is 120 made them, then they'd have to come back and see us.
Okay.
And get an extra 20 feet, which makes sense because, you know.
Yeah, I just
we need
didn't
to-
understand.
Yeah.
So this is 120 to the back.
Right, but that house doesn't exist yet.
Yeah, it doesn't exist.
Right.
It's not saying they won't put it at 120. What in case they run into something when it comes to utilities or,
All
you
we're
know.
saying is it can't just be 40, it has to be 100.
Because that wasn't part of their petition.
Okay.
The petition is for that secondary dwelling, the house that's closer to Lee Road. That's what the petition's for.
Okay.
Okay?
So we're trying to help you as homeowners too by,
Saying,
Giving us-
yes, we're going to let you build that secondary dwelling, but your main house can't be closer than 100 feet to the properties in Harrison Ridge.
Okay. So the secondary building's the one on the corner of 63rd
They can
and
build
Lee.
farther, and they can build farther than 100 feet, but we're just setting the boundary there
Right.
rather than the 40
Putting a
feet.
parameter on it.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
And it's a property line not to your house.
I'm sorry.
The 100 feet is from the property line, not to,
Not from your fence or from your
Oh,
house.
okay. Not from not from our backyard.
right.
Right.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, thank
You're
you.
welcome.
Okay.
Thanks, Chris.
Anybody else?
Would he give her the map?
Okay.
Okay. So we're going to vote on petition 23.
One more.
Oh,
Re-remonths.
Yes,
nope, you have to come up.
come on up. Don't be shy.
nothing better than how you Purdue basketball game.
Wow.
I heard that.
I think we all did.
Okay, so you're talking about from the back of the house, not from the front of the house?
It doesn't matter, from any point of the house.
Whatever you call the back or the front, I don't know.
Closest point
That might be
of
the front.
house to the east boundary.
Which is my backyard, okay.
Yeah, but for 100 feet, we got trees. And then house can go anywhere after that.
Okay.
But it could be more. It could be the 120.
It could be 200. You know, we don't have a restriction on how far in they can put it. We just, in taking consideration for the neighbors that have taken the time to come here tonight and voice their concerns, those are valid concerns, certainly. And so rather than the 40 feet setback that they're already required to have, we're extending that to 100 feet
Okay.
rather than just the 40. But
I do appreciate that. And I would say, you know, honestly, when preparing to build the home, I would invite you to come and just look from the other side so you know, because when you build it, it's there. You know, the woods, once it's changed, it's all changed. And so please feel welcome to come into the neighborhood and walk
And
it.
to comfort you, we actually have, our plans are now to, just to give you comfort.
Yeah.
We're trying to, literally, our whole goal, we tried to knock on every door and meet everyone just because we wanted to comfort everyone. Like, our goal is to build a house where you guys are thankful that it's there, not stressed. So we even have our plans have shifted even more to 150. We're just trying to,
Have some buffer.
There you go.
yeah, just
Yeah.
like, you know, just, I mean, we bought 5.5 acres. We want to at least make sure that it's like, but yeah, we're not trying to be, yeah, we walked them, but we'll do it again for sure. We welcome,
Yeah.
we would love to get to know everybody, so that's no problem at all. We
Yeah.
just trying to be.
Okay.
And you're welcome to come. Just we're going to be looking at, so you know
Okay.
what we're going to be seeing, you know, when you have such a beautiful property to have your privacy.
Okay.
Glad you meet your neighbors.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
yeah, guys, swap numbers and go to the barbecue next.
Going to have some wood to burn. Okay, we're going to be voting on petition 23 LUSV 13, 6313 Lee Road, a variance of use and development standards of the City of Indianapolis Consolidated Zoning Subdivision Ordinance 743-306 GG5 to allow a secondary dwelling unit in excess of 720 square feet, which is allowed, with the commitment that the secondary dwelling will not exceed 4,000 square feet, ground floor, and no structure shall be closer than 100 foot from the east property line.
You can keep it, has my name on it,
It's unanimous.
like a realtor.
You are. Albra's legal.
Mr. and Mrs. Shaw, the board has voted unanimously to grant your petition. Welcome to Lawrence. With there being no other cases, the Lawrence Board of Zoning Appeals is adjourned.